go.
This is our 4-hour episode, Taylor. Get ready.
We're going till 5.
We're going till 4:30.
Hey, everybody. This is the second episode of Notes for Next Time. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. How you guys doing today?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain.
Fantastic.
You just were complaining.
Yeah.
No.
It's a brand new day, actually.
You are correct.
Out of the
It is
past-
As of 5
5
minutes.
As of 5 minutes ago, we're seeing...
How's your day been so far? It's been 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes. It's a good 5 minutes.
We're going to see Rise of Skywalker in 5 days now.
Yes.
Well,
Is it really?
change. It's the
Oh, well.
It's the 14th. So, pretty crazy. But we're not a Star Wars podcast.
No.
It's just Star Wars season.
Yeah.
We're going to touch on, let's see, a little bit of Mandalorian possibly.
Not Star Wars podcast.
Not a Star Wars podcast.
No.
Notes for next time. Pop culture. All kinds of pop culture. And then we're going to talk about The Last Jedi.
Not a Star Wars.
Not Star Wars podcast.
Just Star Wars season.
Yeah, it's just Star Wars season. But our bigger topic is going to be why The Last Jedi is so divisive. Because it's trending again on Twitter. I don't know if you knew this, but
Everyone's doing their...
People are watching it again.
Yeah. And they're
Everyone's
like, wow, this is the worst, huh?
reaffirming their biases, where they're
not
like, you
the
know
worst.
what?
Not the worst.
It's down there,
Yeah,
but not the worst.
it's down there. We're going to do a rankings video in the future, but I think it would be, I don't know. It's trending again, which is really weird, and everyone's kind of bringing it up and saying, you know, because there have been interviews where castmates are actually coming out and saying that they didn't necessarily enjoy their time making it or the choices that were made via the writing. But it's funny.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. But I don't know. But I want to touch on Mandalorian real quick because you've seen up to chapter 5, I believe.
I wasn't able to see 6 today.
I'm lucky enough to be caught up. Taylor,
I have some progress.
you have some
You've made
progress.
progress
tonight.
since last week?
No.
Oh, no.
No.
You have. I thought you meant you made
I've
progress.
had a very busy
from-
week.
Hey, man.
Heard that.
Tis the season.
Tis the
Tis
season
the season.
Star Wars season.
to be jolly.
Star Wars season.
Tis the season.
Oh,
Star Wars
holiday
season. But here's the thing. Just broadly, right? I can't get over how damn good this series has been up until I'd say chapter 5,
Yeah.
and then chapter 6 even to an extent where it started to stumble. The first 3 episodes of this season were like the perfect like little early season arc, like
Yeah.
an arc you would see in Clone Wars. This everything, like there was no fat on these episodes. Everything was meaningful. Like the stakes were always high. Characters were always moving forward. The plot was always moving along. And it's like they hit a point where like after that 3-episode arc ended, they were just kind of like, I guess we got to turn this into a monster of the week where
Yeah.
he just like does random shit.
I don't know why they chose that.
I don't know, because like they already greenlit it for a season 2, right?
I'm pretty sure they're filming.
Yeah.
They already started.
Yeah. So they greenlit it for a season 2 before the first season ever was released, I believe was the report. So they knew what they had was at least the producers and the people behind it were confident enough in it that it would do well because it was pretty highly anticipated. You know, Star Wars has never done something like this in the live action space before. And then, you know, people were kind of lukewarm on the first episode. And then
Shake your head
I
at
thought
that.
it was good.
what?
I thought it was good.
Yeah, no.
It was pretty good.
I thought it was a solid opener.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I had no expectations.
Mhm.
Like, up until that point, really, Star Wars had just, the last thing I'd seen that was Star Wars related was Last
Solo.
Jedi.
Oh.
Well, I saw Solo, which was just kind of a non-film for me because I liked it a lot, but when I'm thinking of like the last big thing I saw Star Wars.
Well,
yes,
it was like 6 months after
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi.
Yeah. And everybody was like, well, me personally, not everybody, but, you know, most people were going into that film like, you know, I'm kind of okay and ready for something that's just a safe adventure after all of the risk and subversion of expectations.
Risk and reward.
Yeah, a lot of reward.
Where's the reward at? It's trending. Is that it?
Yeah,
That's the reward. Hey, despite what you think, people are still talking about it 2 years later. And it's trending over The Rise of Skywalker,
And
to my knowledge.
Ryan Johnson
That's
is
weird.
just jumping for joy right now.
Ryan Johnson's sitting back, mate, he made his own probably better film. I have not seen Knives Out.
No,
I've heard good things.
I want
heard good
to.
things.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but positive things. But I just really haven't found the time or the ambition. I'll see it eventually. But yeah, anyway, back to Mandalorian. I just Chapter 5 was a big misstep for me
Yeah.
because there were so many things in that episode in particular that you just kind of have these head-scratching moments where I don't know if it's a thing of like where they just don't realize things aren't working on set, or it's a scheduling thing where they're like, this ain't the best, but we got to get it done.
That should never be the mindset.
No, it shouldn't. But when you have like Hollywood breathing down your neck, and the people at Disney and Lucasfilm are like hovering over
something out.
Kathleen Kennedy is just on set. She's like, well, is it done yet? Do you have it? Can I see some dailies? Or whatever she's doing. I don't know. She's probably not doing any of that, I hope. But there's a pressure there, and I think sometimes it just, the reason why things. There was some quote, and I'm going to misquote it, but people were saying like, the reason bad things are bad a lot of the time is just because there wasn't time to make them good, or something to that effect. And I kind of think that maybe that was what's been happening with some of these latter episodes.
But you would assume that every director, you'd assume every episode gets the same slot of time. I don't know if that's me being
You would
ignorant
imagine that it would.
But yeah, I mean, you have
some directors probably are more efficient in their time than others.
Yeah, that's true.
That's a great point, because I was just about to say I think it comes down to, I think you're right, but I think it comes down to how hard the individual preps, how good they are at writing, how good they are at maybe
managing, just time management,
managing a set,
staff management.
Because if you've got you got 5 days to shoot an episode, or I don't even know what their schedule was like, but it's like, all right, day 1 we got to get shots 1 through 15 done. So it's like, all right, 20 minutes here to get this shot done. All right, cut, wrap, set up new shot, or that shit is
Chapter 5 felt like it was shot in one day.
Yeah, it felt like it was written in one day, shot in one day, edited in one day.
All in the same day.
It felt like the actors were cold reading the lines. They'd never seen them before.
The dialogue was bad.
Dialogue was real bad. It was prequelish. It was weird because Filoni was at the helm,
but he's only done animated for the most part, right?
Yeah. He's done He made Rebels and Clone Wars, which a lot of things work in animation, dialogue-wise, that just don't translate to live action.
Which is weird.
It's very weird.
You'd think words are words, but
mainly you read off a script in animation.
Yeah.
There's not they can kind of work around, because typically like Pixar film or something. If I'm right, like the actors come in, you get a Tom Hanks and a Tim Allen or whatever, and they come in and they read the script and they bounce off each other, then the animators animate around that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's how they do it with all animation, but the series has so many good things going for it in those first 3, and I'll even say 4 episodes.
I liked 4 more than
5.
I think
5.
5 was. I think a lot of people were iffy on 4. I dug it. I mean, there wasn't a lot of advancement. I feel like we all just want the Baby Yoda plot.
Yeah.
And now
the entire internet wants Baby Yoda.
Well, yeah.
And
the whole internet.
Even throw away the fact that he's adorable, right? It's like everyone's freaking out about him because, one, we haven't seen, I guess if you don't count Yaddle.
Yeah, you don't see
no
that
one counts
species.
Yaddle.
Yeah, no one. Yoda didn't count Yaddle. Yaddle doesn't count Yaddle. But we haven't seen anybody from that species. Everyone's always was intrigued from the first episode of like, oh no, we might actually hear, what this species is called or whatever. And the dynamic there is so interesting because it's kind of turning into a father-son story.
Yeah.
Which are always interesting. And it's this tough bounty hunter who's all of a sudden shows a softer side for this young, adorable creature that, and there's so many different possibilities there. And they throw in the John Wick element of he's being hunted by seemingly everybody in the galaxy. Mm-hmm. And to sideline something as compelling as that for just a simple episode that focuses around helping out some dumb punk kid to get into the guild that you just shot up an episode ago and are on the run from, it kind of baffles me that there wasn't more coordination with the writing on that. But
yeah,
this stuff is hard, and I want to preface this too, just because it is the second episode, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of opinionated things to say about The Last Jedi when we get into that part. But everybody at this table, we totally realize that hundreds, if not thousands, of hardworking artists and creators come together to work on this shit.
If it was easy, everyone would do it.
Everybody would do it, and they work and put years of their lives into this stuff for us to go and sit in a theater for 2 hours and then have a snide comment or opinion
it was
about
fine.
it was all right. So yeah, I don't know. Anything that we say about any of this stuff, like, I always try to look at it from like a production standpoint too, but yeah, we never mean anything personal or insulting or to any of the people involved.
Because
I think that goes without saying.
I could never do that.
Yeah,
like
I couldn't either. I mean,
that's something that takes a tremendous amount of talent and dedication.
which you have, man.
Thank you.
You just gotta find your path. No, but it takes me back to college when I would just try to make, I made like 3 or 4 different short films throughout school, and even doing that, coordinating with maybe 6 or 7 people to get together and do a scene in my apartment, which was a set that I knew I'd always have. Didn't have to pay for a location, didn't have to go scouting, like even doing that and having that come together and actually be good is so hard. So like, here's the thing too, is like when they're shooting this shit, they're probably just like, fuck yeah, this is great. And then you get it back to the editing room and you're just like,
oh no.
Yeah, you're like,
maybe not.
like, God, this isn't really cutting together the way I'd hoped it would, or something like that. So
It's always better in the moment when you're doing it.
yeah, especially if you're, you have that creator separation syndrome that I talk about, where it's like, this seems pretty great. It's probably pretty great, right? And as you get mature and you grow as a creator, you start to realize like, okay, like I'm gonna look at this thing with rose tinted glasses because this is my creation.
Yeah.
And then people might not mirror my same thoughts on it, but well,
I just want to know where it's going. We have
that's the thing too.
2 episodes left in the season.
7 and 8, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was chapter 6, Friday, right?
Yeah. So unless they're obviously,
gotta go now.
Yeah,
Like,
you're gonna have your storyline through seasons, but it's like each
You
season
have to have
should
at least
have,
somewhat of a wrap up.
Yeah, so
when
it's
the
like,
season ends.
what are we building to? Because we had a pretty interesting story for 3 episodes,
And I
chapters, whatever.
Yeah, I'd even argue that the 4th episode, although it's like its own kind of self-contained thing, the pacing of it is so much happens in like 32 minutes.
Yeah.
And it all wraps up really well, and you still have time for resolution. That Bryce Dallas Howard did a really good job like pacing that and directing that. But even then, it's like, okay, you can argue it doesn't really move the main plot along because they're helping these villagers. But at the end of the episode, you get the sense that like, okay, you get like 2 big points. Mando's not going to leave this child, and they're still coming for the child, no matter what.
Yeah, it
like
was still character building.
Yeah,
I
so
felt like 5 was just like
it was like
you
a
could not
proof
watch
of
it
concept.
and there'd be no.
Yeah, and then at the end, they have the audacity at the end of that episode to have that like supposed cameo or like.
Yeah, I just saw feet.
And I'm like that just looks like the Mandalorian, and then people are saying it might be Boba Fett, and I'm like, it can't fucking be Boba Fett. You can't fit Boba Fett into that. Maybe they can. I don't know. But I'm like, at the end, it's like, well, you just had a really shitty episode. You can't like cliffhanger me now.
Yeah.
Like you didn't earn
I'm
that.
not interested, and that didn't get me interested.
Yeah,
Isn't
like
Boba Fett in the Sarlacc pit?
according to current canon, I think so. Yes, but people have been
Watched it
speculating.
on screen.
What?
We watched it on screen.
I know, but
He crawled out.
the weird thing about Disney Star
shit.
Wars, the weird thing about Disney Star Wars Lucasfilm canon now is it's like, oh, okay, well, we've got these comics, and we've got these books, and we've got these games, and we've got these movies. And they've actually done a pretty good job, to my knowledge, with not contradicting one medium over the other. Like, they've done a pretty good job of, like, keeping things pretty straight, which is really hard to do when you're trying to balance every single medium of entertainment and have it all align with each other. I think there's, like, something in a book where Pablo Hidalgo, the story lead at Lucasfilm, was like, he was pretty much just like, all right, well, in the books it's canon, but if it happens in the films and contradicts it, then the film is canon.
Yeah,
So
it's impossible to, when you're trying to still tell a story over like multiple mediums, there's just eventually it's going to become convoluted, and you just kind of have to go with, I'm just, whatever I see in the movies, that's what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's...
Well, that's what reaches the biggest audience.
Especially
if
with
you
Star
want to
Wars.
give like little whatever things in comics or video games or cool, that's fine, but
Stuff that more serious fans will gravitate towards instead of just a general audience.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which
because
is fine.
the world of the films, I mean, you know, even if this live-action TV stuff takes off, and we're going to get it Kenobi in the form of
Oh,
a
thank
Disney,
God.
a Disney Plus show too. Ewan McGregor coming back. But even if that is like, and you, like that's the thing too. Is like with Mandalorian kind of slipping up towards the end. If they can tie it up and they can wrap things up and they can like kind of have a project, like if they can project us towards season 2 with some oomph, then okay. You got to imagine I think Taika Waititi's directing episode 8, chapter 8.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, great director of comedy, great director of action. Like, and if we're touching on chapter 6 real quick, like the most recent episode, it had great action, but again, it just felt like a one-off monster of the week stuff. There are some cool Baby Yoda moments.
Yeah.
But again, they're kind of doing this. They did this weird self-aware thing where it was like early on, they're like, this is a character. And now they're like, play him for cuteness. Like
Yeah, but it's all shot, right? Like before.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. But the show seems to be taking that weird self-aware turn where it's almost it wasn't, but it almost feels like it was being shot week to week to try and like as
this
if
is popular, so make sure he's real cute in this episode.
It was never that.
It's
but
probably not completely out of the realm of possibility to believe that Disney probably knew that Baby Yoda would be incredibly popular.
Yeah. Like
And-
porgs, like...
Yes.
But this is even like
Yeah.
beyond that.
I know.
Like, that's crazy. It's crazy how much of the zeitgeist it's been occupying. Like it's just and cool. Like I don't have one like ill feeling towards it one way or the other. But
Hey, he's your avatar on Disney Plus.
I know, dude. I'm sorry. Dude,
20 minutes.
Dude,
I saw it on Instagram. It was like 23 minutes ago, and I was like, "Oh, cool!"
But
I was like, "He already got it."
There's a story behind that though, because I was on Disney Plus and I too was scrolling through Instagram, and it was like 6 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I don't
And was
believe
like,
him.
I'm quick, man.
He's quick.
I'll get you. I'll get you.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully they can tie that up because
I hope so.
I
I have to watch 6, and then
which good
7 comes out on Wednesday,
yeah, because they want to beat the Rise of Skywalker.
which is weird. But I
Yeah.
guess you don't want to release
makes
both
sense.
your.
You don't want to have it on Friday because no one's gonna be like, oh, Mandalorian. Like maybe a few
I choose
people.
that over the movie.
Yeah.
Over Rise of Skywalker.
Exactly. Maybe a few people, but yeah. So we're getting kind of an accelerated episode. What day is it? Saturday.
It's Saturday now.
Very early Saturday morning. Okay.
Very early.
Well, it's only getting later.
Well, before we does anyone have anything else to say? Like, okay, Taylor, like I'm assuming you've seen about like 2 episodes of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So you're really excited to
So-
watch the rest of it, knowing that it's just
I mean, I've
It's
heard
downward.
mixed reviews.
I will say chapter 5 is bad.
yes.
But chapter 6, I think the incredible way they filmed some of the action, and some of those sequences save that episode from being
Dreadful.
It's at least entertaining.
Yeah, it's entertaining.
Okay.
If I can be entertained, that's fine.
It's entertaining once you get into, I would say, about halfway. Like,
Okay.
yeah, you're introduced to new characters. It's that whole thing. But I would say it's entertaining, and you'd like it more than 5, I would assume.
I hope so.
Yeah, Pit Droid Lady can die.
She was bad.
She was rough, dude. Well, I don't know. Take it to Beggar's Canyon, why don't ya?
Right, Taylor?
Yes.
Right.
Well, okay. Well, I wanted to ask you one question before we move on. Because you're an avid consumer of Star Wars,
Yeah.
as we all are at this table.
Not
What-
a Star Wars podcast, though.
Not a Star Wars podcast. Have the same knickknacks on the table from the first one, but we're not a Star Wars podcast.
That's fine. You want me to decorate every episode?
Every episode has to be something different. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't have that many things.
Rearrange the order there.
There you go. No, what about it to you? Like, since you're watching it casually, is it a thing of like when you just watch shows like this, you just kind of wait to see like how it all pans out, then you dive in, or like why don't you feel the need to like tune in every week?
Honestly, as of at least like right now, it's just not something that is at the front of my mind. I just think with Rise of Skywalker so close, like I'm sure Mandalorian is great. I mean, I've heard overall good things, except for episode 5, but like
Chapter.
my Star Wars focus right now is Rise of Skywalker. Skywalker, and still finishing Fallen Order, which I have yet to do.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. I cannot wait to talk about that.
So,
Yeah, I'll play it in 2035.
Mandalorian will come in time.
I'll play it on PS5.
Yeah.
Probably will be an option, to be honest. Segue. Xbox Series X.
I saw that.
What the hell?
It is a computer tower.
It
It is giant.
It's a terrible name.
I'm interested to
It's a very
see
bad
the
name.
power cord for this because Xbox always has the most ridiculous power cords for their systems.
It's going to be a
Do
brick.
they have one for the One X?
No, I think the One X was just your standard.
It was
cord.
internal, yeah.
But I don't think Xbox is going to stick with that design.
They're like, screw it. You're getting a big box. You'll get a smaller big box.
Yeah, we watched a lot of the Game Awards last night,
We did.
and I remember the cool thing about Jeff Keighley and what he does as kind of an ambassador of the games industry. You know, he devotes his entire year to planning this event that's based solely around bringing everybody together and celebrating the year that has been in games.
Which is done very well.
Done very well.
Very good
You know,
at
I'm
it.
sure it's incredibly hard. Some of the world premieres he gets on there, some of the announcements he is able to bring in. Vin Diesel announced the Game of the Year award. The Fast and the Furious game looks bad, but well, it's just a trailer. It might be really fun.
Have you seen the animated show?
Very big Magic
No.
the Gathering presence at the
Yeah.
the
Really?
Game Awards.
Yeah, there
this
was
year.
like 7
There's-
different Magic the
yeah,
Gathering
there's a lot of
games.
Magic the Gathering video games
man.
coming.
It's popular.
It is, but not as really in video games.
Well,
But apparently,
they're taking the market by storm.
I was about to say they're trying, man.
They are.
They're like, hey, we're selling a lot of these cards. but
there's
this
a
is-
Dungeons and Dragons video game coming.
That's tight.
You wanted a co-op game to play.
Yeah.
Now we have a co-op game.
Dungeons and Dragons is your co-op game?
of all the things we could play. But you know, the thing that interests me about Series X,
You say that, but we sat there for 30 minutes trying to find a game, and we never did.
oh, the co-op thing.
Yes.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, I'm always down for different new co-op games, always. But the
Series X.
Yeah, the Series X thing, the Xbox X. Like, how can you not call it that?
That's what it will be called.
The X Sex, just the sex. How, I don't know. It's a very, everyone's like, look at how small it is. But I saw it and
Is it small? It looks huge.
It's
it looks huge. Yeah, Greg Miller was like, look how small this is. And I looked at it and I was like, is it small? Because I guess what he's probably using for reference is the controller that's leaning up against it.
Yeah.
But I was just like, it's like 2 controllers tall. Like it looks like it weighs about a solid 63 pounds.
I have to look this up because I only saw a glimpse of it.
Can you look up the specs for it on your phone?
Yeah.
Because I never saw the internals and I'm actually quite curious.
Why are you going to call it an Xbox One X and an Xbox Series X?
So
That was his first comment
Yeah.
was like, that's confusing.
my thinking is
It's like
that
3 controllers
maybe first article, Xbox Series X is basically a PC.
Yeah, duh.
They have a disk drive though. They're not going all digital. Is it bad that it?
God.
Well, it's
You should
well,
just.
No, I know. It surprised me to see a disk drive on it. I don't know why.
That's not small.
It's not small.
I know, and it's fat.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
CPU 8-core targeting around 3.5 gigahertz.
We're losing the entire audience.
GPU, sorry audience.
Just give us 2 seconds.
This is important. GPU, Xbox Series X GPU and custom processor. That's literally what it
I'm
says.
sure they're going to work with AMD to have some kind of custom chipset built.
Compute power 12 teraflops.
Who gives a fuck?
Funny.
RAM 13
Word.
gigabytes for games, 3 gigabytes for operating system, 16 gigs total.
That's a good number, but is it 13 gigs of VRAM or 13 gigs of? I guess it doesn't fucking matter.
RAM. Storage, custom non-volatile memory, express solid state storage. So a solid state drive.
Yep.
Great.
It's just a mid to high end PC right now. I mean,
My thinking with this is
Did we get a price point?
no.
I would estimate probably about $500.
I would say 550 to 6.
Maybe higher.
It's nuts.
PS5 is going to be around 500. So if PlayStation beats Xbox in price, I don't anticipate them losing the market share that they already have.
Yeah.
The big thing with the Series X that I'm thinking about, though, is I think Series is going to be something quite literal. I think there's going to be more than just one iteration of this console, either at launch or over the period of the console's life in this console generation.
I don't think you're too far off there, because even they started doing that this generation with, like, the Pro and the Xbox One X and the Xbox One S.
Especially if they are, because Microsoft has talked for a long time of targeting, like trying to make their Xbox into a PC type console. I think there's a good chance that you have this base console, whatever the Series X is, and then a higher end version, maybe for $800 or $900 at a price point that gives you better internals.
Why not just buy a PC at that point?
Well, it's the convenience, I think.
You'll still get the convenience of a console. You'll get the limitations of a console too, but if Microsoft is able to bridge the gap if you can get any closer, I mean, that's obviously progress, but
everything is just gravitating more towards personal computers in terms of like their functionality and how powerful they are and everything, and something like that. Like, to me, what that reminded me of was kind of like this. I think Alienware has these very small form factor
Steam machines.
Something like
They're supposed to be the next big thing, and they were a tremendous disaster.
Yeah, they were pretty much just living room computers that were in very small form factors
that were $900 that nobody bought.
Yeah,
because they were so expensive.
But again, it's the funny thing is about it though is even if you buy those, I mean, you're still operating on a PC, and I think you still have the same OS, so you're still getting all the problems that come inherent with PC gaming.
Yeah,
I do both. I love both, but I will always prefer console. Sometimes.
Said always.
I know.
It all depends on the game.
I will always sometimes prefer console.
Think back to your experience with Red Dead 2 on PC.
No, and here's the thing.
A little cringy.
Yeah, it was terrible. I mean, that PC gaming can be equally the most incredible thing in the world and the most frustrating thing in the world. And when it comes to it, it's like sometimes I'd rather just sit in my fucking recliner with a wireless controller and just take the frame rate dips. I'll just eat it. Like, I'll just deal with the lower res and the bad frame rates and the whatever the hell the issue is, because I put my disc in and I play. And because I have such a neurotic mind when it comes to fucking with settings, sometimes my brain just accepts it better than it would, like, oh, but I have a PC.
You have the option.
Yes, if I know I have the option, and if I know that if I potentially tinker with it to a point, it could be better, that, like, just fucking drives me insane. Or there's PC ports that work how they should, and it's fucking great. Like the Fallen Order port, like, it works how it should, and it's by far the best way to play that game. And it's unfortunate because console users were at the end of the generation where they're getting the short end of the stick in terms of being able to experience games like that.
I can't speak to Xbox, but I mean, playing it on PS4, I had very few problems.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely it's been patched a few times. It's more buggy than PC version was at launch, but that's neither here nor there. It's interesting to see, like, and I think you're exactly right with it. The Series X will probably be the first in a long line of maybe 4 or 5 different models throughout the course of that console generation.
I can also see Microsoft just evolving this console over several console generations. Like, this might be the last, like, new console Microsoft makes, and they just may make upgraded versions of this one.
And then Stadia's taken over.
Oh my god.
It's a joke.
Mason, you can leave the room now.
Yeah, no, Stadia's a joke. But yeah.
Their ads are really bad.
Huh?
Oh, the ads are terrible. Yeah.
That was the last thing I watched before I went to bed last night.
A Stadia ad?
Stadia ad.
And he had nightmares and woke up with a wet bed.
Yeah.
Shit
That's
himself.
why I'm tired today. Thanks, Google.
That's rough.
No, but get back on track to some movies here. But yeah, Game Awards is cool. I think everyone was like, because he announced, the Xbox was announced. No one saw that coming. The next Xbox.
No, that was.
And he did it like in the first third of the show.
Right.
And he's very vocal on Twitter. And he's like, give me all your feedback. I'm going to read all of it. And every tweet was, the Xbox reveal should have been last. Like,
Yeah, but if.
Duh.
But having it earlier in the show gives developers who are developing games for the new console to have those reveals and make those announcements. Like, hey, this just got announced. Look what we're working on for it.
That's fair. Do you have any other, like, I don't know. Every time I tune into the Game Awards, I'm like, there's like 4 or 5.
No, there's so much to cover.
There are 4 or 5 really cool things that happen in that show, but then mostly it's like the Oscars where it's too long and it's cringe.
It's a lot of fluff with several good moments and too much to sort through. I'm excited for PlayStation 5, which was not even at the Game Awards, so that's fine.
They're not even going to be at E3 because Sony does their own thing. They're going to announce it on their own press conference.
And I am 100% okay with that.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but interesting. It's a good time to be a gamer. Yeah. I kind of want to talk about Marriage Story, but I kind of don't want to talk about Marriage Story.
You do whatever you want. Tell us how good it is.
I've never seen it, so you're going to be...
Yeah, I'll keep it brief because Mike, I think you have plans of watching it, and
so do I.
And
So
Taylor, you have plans of watching it. No spoilers. I won't spoil anything.
Kylo Ren's in it.
Kylo Ren is in it. No,
Kylo Ren and Black Widow.
I'm glad you brought that up because Adam Driver is just God. Him and Joaquin Phoenix hold just like a special place in my heart, and I haven't even I think The Force Awakens was my first proper introduction to Adam Driver, but I've tried to kind of go out of my way to watch some of his films because he has a background in theater. His life is just an incredible story. First of all, he did some theater in high school. Then his parents were like, "Hey, you're 18, you got to pay rent and do this." And then he's like, "I don't know where to go with my life." He auditioned for Juilliard, I think, right out of high school at 19. Didn't get in. Said, "Fuck it, I'll go to the Marines."
Yeah.
Became a fucking Marine. He's a mortarman and an expert rifleman. Was I think he was 2 or 3 weeks away from being deployed over into Afghanistan, Iraq in the mid 2000s, post 9/11, and he broke his sternum in a mountain biking accident.
How?
So he got, I'm sure, honorably discharged or medically discharged, and it still eats him up. He still wishes he would have went over there. Then he gets out. He's like, "Well, I didn't get into Juilliard, so I'm going to go back to Indiana and go to a acting college there, where he's from." But he's like, "One last time, fuck it, I'll audition for Juilliard." Gets in, and then kind of the rest is history from there. But this dude's just a consummate professional, and in Marriage Story, he's the front runner for the Oscar this year, I think, along with Robert De Niro's kind of getting snubbed, but that's another topic. But yeah, he's just in this movie. He's magnetic. Him and Scarlett Johansson both are incredible. The movie is just such a incredibly mature look at relationships, a marriage, how it kind of unfolds, the ugliness of divorce, and how love can evolve, and how it affects, not just you, but everybody. The families. In the movie they have a kid, so it affects the child in really interesting ways. And there's just some scenes in this movie that are just so gut-wrenchingly that some of it's kind of really meme worthy right now because everyone likes to make fun of it on Twitter about well, then my downstairs neighbors should get an Oscar because there's this scene called kind of The Fight where they kind of just go at each other.
Yeah.
But it's a 6-minute fight, and it takes place it reminds me of live theater because it just ramps up and ramps up and ramps up and ramps up, and it's just it's great. I'm rooting for him for the Oscar this year. Yeah, and I think he deserves it. I hope they both.
That Joaquin talk though.
Here's the thing: if the nominations come out for the Academy this year, and both Joaquin Phoenix and Adam Driver are nominated for Best Actor, I will not know what to do. My soul will be torn because I love both of those guys. And Scarlett Johansson is equally as good in this movie. She's fucking fantastic too. So, yeah, if you like good dramas, it's not the type of movie where you're like, that was fun.
Yeah.
It's not that.
Makes you think.
Makes you think, and it tugs on your heartstrings. I cried a couple times. One scene got me real good. But yeah, you don't see movies, you don't see small indie dramas like this all the time. At least I don't.
It was interesting to see clearly, like you said, a small indie drama, but such these big names. It was a very
You got Kylo Ren, being a dad who's going through divorce, trying to do the best for his son, and you know.
I saw it and I was interested, and then you told me how much you enjoyed it as much as you can, a movie like that.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
I definitely. I want to check it out.
It's a good one. It's one to watch for sure. Do you guys want to talk about,
Speaking of Kylo Ren.
speaking of Kylo Ren,
Oh my God.
talk about our main topic?
Sure. With completely unbiased.
Yeah. Completely unbiased opinions.
So unbiased.
Guys, why is The Last Jedi just so divisive?
Because it's bad. Because it's not
Very
good.
analytical explanation. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
Well, thank you.
That's been notes for next time.
You need 3 letters.
B-A-D.
EAD. No, I mean,
Sounds like your explanation for why you think episode 1 is better than 2.
no, I've very thought out. I have my list.
You do.
I've been going back to formulate my rankings
Yeah.
for a future video, and I've not dove into 2 yet because I keep
Good.
putting it
Avoid
off.
It's bad.
I keep putting it off.
No, Marissa and I literally watched it last night. We watched because we're
The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Okay.
not episode 2. God. No, because we're catching up for The Rise of Skywalker. So we watched 7 and 8. And 7 is so good. And it's just such...
So good.
I was thinking about why I enjoy it so much. And it's because it's just like... It's the first time that you can watch a Star Wars movie and just like... Everything seems real. Like effects-wise, it's a modern movie. As opposed to the prequels, obviously the CG, and the originals obviously looked fantastic for their time, but obviously they aged. So this is the first time that you're just like, I'm in this world and everything is believable.
Yeah.
And it's just so whimsical and magical and it's just fun and it's a good time. And then you get to The Last Jedi and there's just no fun.
It's just, oh,
For real.
that's The Last Jedi.
We were watching it and I understand. It's frustrating because there's elements in the movie that are very cool and something different with Star Wars could have been very cool and some of the themes could have been very cool, but it was just bad. It's boring and it's frustrating, and the whole just making the movie subvert your expectations. It's just like watching the movie. It should just be like a 2.5 hour middle finger.
Yeah.
Because that's literally like what it looks like and like what the experience is.
So there's 3 points I want to touch on, especially on that comment you made about a 2.5 hour middle finger. The main one is when you get to the end of The Force Awakens.
Try and wipe the grin off my face as we tear this movie down. I'm sorry.
No, it's divisive.
Right.
Maybe we'll be trending too. So the end of Force Awakens ends with Rey approaching Luke and extending the lightsaber. Luke probably wondering if there was a hand attached to it when it was found. But that's how the movie ended. And it was a
With
2-year wait.
Questionable helicopter shot, but
Well, 2-year wait of what's Luke gonna say? Like, how is he? Like, Rey is standing there.
I'm getting mad.
He wasn't supposed to be able to be found, and Rey's standing there with his lightsaber. How is Luke gonna react? He has a very emotional look on his face at the end of 7.
Such an emotional moment. I think I teared up the first time I saw that scene.
The Last Jedi starts. Luke takes the lightsaber, looks at it for a
Considerably
minute,
sunnier.
and throws it over his shoulder and walks away.
I remember the first.
All of that cliffhanger, all of that, everything building up to that. That's it.
That was it's kind of a metaphor for what Rian Johnson does with all of your expectations throughout the entire movie.
Well, yeah. So that is big thing number one. I feel like that he just kind of crumpled up the very, very obvious cliffhanger at the end of Force Awakens. Just said, that doesn't matter. Let's go to thing number 2 that just doesn't matter. The throne room scene. Snoke has been portrayed as this huge mystery bad guy, corrupted Kylo Ren, turned into the dark side. Like, this guy supposedly is made to seem all powerful, especially in The Force Awakens. Like, the hologram, like, he's like 20 feet tall.
Dude,
like,
it's so dope. The visual
like,
is so cool.
He's so menacing. And then he gets cut in half.
Spoilers, by the way.
If you haven't seen The Last Jedi.
Yeah, if you haven't seen The Last Jedi, just figure life out and watch it before The Rise of Skywalker comes out so you can be depressed like the rest of us.
No, we're excited now.
Not for the right reasons.
That's
not about The Last Jedi. Gets cut in half. Okay. Well, this guy that was built up for over an episode and a half doesn't matter. Gone. Now, granted, I will mention that the throne room scene is probably the best scene of that movie.
By far. Everything that takes place in that throne room is probably some of the best stuff in that movie.
Yeah. But I was watching it before I came here to shoot this, and I stopped watching it because I had to leave my house to come here. But the throne room scene was the last thing I watched, and I'll be honest with you, I may have shut it off after that anyway. You get to the end where Kylo Ren confronts Luke, and it's just, it feels like such a forced interaction, and there's so much forced dialogue there. Like, nothing seems natural.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to expound some more on?
The only other thing is, Carrie Fisher, God rest her soul, and I understand, all of her scenes were shot in this movie before she passed, but when the bridge of their cruiser was blown up, I mean, that would have been such a fitting way for her to go, That
would have been a really ballsy way for her to go.
Yeah.
I remember
it would have been, but that's something that they could have, if they truly planned for her to all of a sudden become incredibly force powerful and fly through space to get back to the wrecked cruiser, that's something that they could have cut that part out and be like, okay, that's that's her send off.
Yeah, it's funny because every moment you bring up, I don't necessarily have a problem with on their own. It's how everything carries on after the fact. The biggest problem with this movie for me is that every single cool idea or dramatic moment or interesting morsel of story or dialogue in this movie is in the next breath undercut by some horrible, not landing humor or cutting back to a B plot that we don't give a fuck about. The throne room scene, they cut away from that 4 fucking times to go back to Rose and Finn and Benicio on the fucking ship. We don't... Ryan.
Spell your name right.
Spell your name with a Y, and also don't fucking do that. I don't know if he edited the film. I don't think he did, but I mean, he's the fucking director. He can have some say in that. You're at the pinnacle of your film, which should have been the climax, by the way. The film should have just fucking ended after the saber was broken in half and the hyperspace. That felt like the climax. You're cutting away from the most interesting part of your film that we've been waiting. It's 90 minutes until that happens, by the way. The elevator ride, between Kylo and Rey where they talk to each other and have a little nice moment, that's 90 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
That's 90 minutes. So the whole time leading up to this, you're getting some cool moments. The Force time stuff between Rey and Kylo is great.
Yeah.
Unquestionably the best stuff in the movie.
Leia's near death.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with her floating back to the ship. I don't.
I do.
It looks bad.
It looks weird.
It's executed really poorly.
Yeah.
The idea is cool.
Yeah, on paper it sounds cool, but it looks a little weird. It looks a little Mary Poppins-ish, but whatever. But it's everything is undercut in this movie by just a poor attempt at forced humor that is tonally inconsistent with what's come before it, and they cut back to B plots that we don't care about.
A really good example of that, because I was obviously last night watching when Rey is on the island and she decides to train herself. She has the staff with the rock, and then she looks over, sees Anakin, Luke's lightsaber, decides to use that. And then Luke kind of appears and is watching over her. You get this big shot of Rey using the lightsaber. Luke is looking off in the distance. The music's swelling. And then she cuts the rock in half and the rock falls and it takes out the caretakers and they look up and go, "Meh." And I'm just like, and it's almost every, like you said, almost every moment of like, huh? Comes with the,
Yeah.
and that's the movie.
Yeah, that's the movie.
To dwell on your comment there, forced humor. This movie starts with forced humor. So let's take a minute and acknowledge Poe Dameron's "your mother" joke.
Yeah.
The First
Calling
Order.
him Hugs, kind of
Hold
funny.
on. The First Order brings in this dreadnought, something that we have never seen in a Star Wars episode. This massive, obnoxiously huge Star Destroyer
Cool shot.
with two giant fucking cannons on the bottom of it, which look honestly like the damage they did. You could see the explosions from space, like not to the scale of the Death Star, but something that could fuck
work.
shit up
They do
without
work.
even having to be near the planet.
Mm-hmm.
You bring this huge thing in, and then here comes Poe Dameron flying towards the dreadnought, and just has this ridiculously forced back and forth with General Hux that ends with a "your mother" joke, and then Poe Dameron starts taking out the surface cannons of the dreadnought, and this thing that looks like it should be just absolutely indestructible. Granted, it was the scene with the bombers where all the bombers get destroyed, and then the last one drops the bombs and destroys the dreadnought. That's cool, but
Parts of it are.
this thing should not have This thing should have had more. I feel like more of an impact, and like maybe one of the cruisers doesn't make it in the evacuation, and the fucking dreadnought destroys one of them to kind of show like how powerful this thing really is.
It's
But
funny.
it doesn't. It's just your mother joke, and then the surface cannons are cleared, and then bye dreadnought. You never see him on screen again.
You brought up a million things I want to talk about. First of all, I want to go back before I forget. Did you know he was saying General Hugs without having the subtitles on?
I knew it because someone mentioned it.
Because I never knew that joke existed until one night I turned the subtitles on and I'm like, oh no, they tried to do that?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
I thought it was kind of funny.
It's not.
Here's the thing that the whole thing to me, it's forced, but it's also like, it's the weird middle ground of trying to put earthly humor into Star Wars, and it doesn't translate if it's about phones.
Yeah.
Like, we can fit humor in Star Wars. There's tons of good humor in Star Wars, especially in the OT. But okay, so we're trying to put our own elements of reality into this fantasy universe. Like well, now we know that they're on hold. And now we know that like there's your mom jokes in Star Wars, and he has an urgent communique for his mother, and all these things. And then, and there's the shot too to talk about how they didn't destroy any of the resistance. They just the resistance get off the base, right? And there's a shot where if you see the dreadnought cannon aiming, in the corner of the shot, there's the fleet chilling, hanging out, not jumping to hyperspace. And they go, fleet's over here, base is empty, and they fire on the base. Fire on the base.
Which, cool, but it doesn't make sense.
Cool, if you're afraid of, go down there, get some intel. Go down there and find out, they're not going to come back to that location because
Blow
they
the base to bits.
Yeah.
When you could have just shot the fleet in the first place, which, the captain of the dreadnought realizes it after the evacuation is done, and it's like, target their cruisers.
Captain
done that beforehand.
And you know what? Captain Kennedy, that dude should have been the big bat. He was really cool, and he had 4 lines.
Yeah.
What else?
This movie is about fuel consumption.
That's what you were saying last night.
Yes,
No,
that is
literally
underlying...
they say the word fuel 30 times, 40 times.
And that is like the big dread, like the thing that, the source of stress and like impending doom through the entire movie. Like in every other Star Wars movie, like it's been like the Sith, or you're being chased by something. You're running out of gas.
Yeah. which has never been even referenced like in Star Wars.
Yeah, that's such a Star Trek thing, really.
And they're just like, fuel, we're running on fuel, we're low on fuel.
Yeah.
We'll keep up with them because they're running out of fuel. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
My
They're
God.
running out of gas.
We just have to remind you what's happening because we know logistically the plot line makes no sense, but I think if we just hammer it home enough, the audience will get it. Yeah, this movie is the perfect example of 1 million little nagging details that annoy you that bring a whole film down. Because there really is a lot of greatness in this movie, but it is just, I'm going to pull my notes up. It is just buried and submerged and strangled by all the little things that annoy personally, and I guess all three of us at this table, that annoy us.
Also, when they're getting ready to evacuate the cruiser, they're fueling up all of these escape shuttles. Where are you getting that fuel that all of a sudden you magically have that you didn't have before?
I don't know.
they're using the rest of their fuel.
They can
for the
fuel up
pods.
25 escape shuttles to get to Crate, but
And she still has enough fuel.
to jump to hyperspace into Snoke's ship. Yeah. I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get too buried in the logistics because
I know.
it's supposed to be fantasy, but when you set your B plot up around logistics,
talk about it.
Yeah,
So
Also,
much.
when you bring fantasy into real life things like your mother jokes, cell phones, and gas consumption,
what's the Last Jedi about? Your mom, cell phones, and gas.
so no, when they do that, I think we can bring logistics into it
Yeah.
because they asked for it.
We've been
What you got, Mace?
We've been pooping on it, so let me just play devil's advocate and bring up some of the positive things, okay?
The throne room scene was great.
Yeah,
It was super cool.
yeah. All the stuff with Snoke and Kylo in the throne room. The first time you see Kylo, he goes in there. There's just Adam Driver's just so good at playing some of those nuances.
Yoda was on screen.
Yeah, yeah. I've got Puppet Yoda's cool. His scene with Lucas is cool. George Lucas once said that Force ghosts can't interact with the physical realm, and he calls down lightning, but we won't talk about that.
He also hits Luke on the head with his cane.
Yeah, so I don't know. The Rey and Luke altercation, right after Luke runs into the hut, and he's like, stop. And then he's like, did you create Kylo Ren?
No way.
Yeah, did you create Kylo Ren? And then they actually have the little battle, and he trips and falls and stops himself with the Force. Very cool moment. The flashbacks are cool.
They are.
But we don't need 4 of them.
You saw Luke's green lightsaber twice. Which is great.
We don't need a Kylo's point of view, then Luke's point of view, then the real point of view.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need that. Like, stop. Like, the third time, I think you see it 3 times.
Yeah, you do.
The third time I saw it, I was like, I was interested because of the story, kind of. But if you go back and watch it the third time, I'm just like, all right, we could just got this information the first time, and then, The Luke projection at the end I've come around on. At first when I saw the film I was just pissed because I wanted a laser sword battle. Like I just wanted them to just fucking, go at it. And then everyone's like, there's no way that Luke could have stood up to Kylo. And I'm like, what?
Yes, he could
Yeah,
have.
I know. I'm like, he's fucking Luke Skywalker, and it's like you can get stunt doubles and you can get Mark Hamill did a lot of the action with Daisy in that one scene where they had the little altercation.
Plus, if they're talking about just Kylo Ren being more skilled or Luke being too old, Obi-Wan Kenobi fought Darth Vader in Episode 4.
Yes, very slowly.
And only lost because he let Darth Vader kill him.
Yeah.
Why did Luke not have his green lightsaber though?
I don't know. He should have.
Story wise.
Yeah.
So is there any?
My take of that is,
But it was a projection, so
because it was a projection, he thought that he would be able to have the most mental impact on Kylo Ren by using his lightsaber and Anakin's lightsaber,
But when he went, the last time Kylo saw Luke, he had his green lightsaber. When he went into the hut and when he...
But Kylo is so focused on that lightsaber because that is the Skywalker lightsaber.
Yeah.
which was just destroyed in 2 scenes prior. And I know Kylo's supposed to be enraged and probably not paying attention to some details.
Should have noticed.
Pretty important part of his life.
Yeah,
when
and
that lightsaber
even
gets split in half. And,
even in Force Awakens, he's like, that saber, that's mine. It belongs to me or whatever. And like, you just destroyed it about 30 minutes ago. And so the
you're
fact
not
that
like, wait a minute.
yeah, and as an audience member, the first time I saw it, and maybe I just didn't have faith and I didn't, but I was like, is this a continuity error? I literally thought they fucked up because we'd never seen Force astral projection before. I thought that was actually Luke. So I'm thrown the fuck off because
I was confused about his hair.
yeah,
But
well,
then I was like,
I just thought he did a Rocky thing where
his hair?
where he's like, I'm just gonna dye my hair real quick and put on a toupee, you know?
I'm
like,
gonna look good for them when I'm finally show up.
You know, make myself look good, tighten up my image, and we're gonna go.
the moment though between Luke and Leia in the bunker is nice.
Very sweet.
Yes.
Very sweet. The wink at C-3PO.
It's great.
Very like original trilogy dynamic.
That actually kind of, the last time I saw that kind of made me emotional because I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
take us back 40 years.
But that's I think goes back to the lightsaber, like how he looked. Like he took the appearance of like when the last time Kylo Ren saw him, because obviously it had been some time since Kylo Ren had seen him.
Yeah.
He looked younger, you know, and he wanted to portray himself as
The legend.
the legend, as impactful as he could to Kylo Ren's state of mind. And I think he did. As far as the lightsaber goes, I agree with you.
Should have been the green saber. I mean,
Should have been.
just for the audience's sake. I'm sure I'm not the only one who was thinking that
Hey,
scene.
there's a chance the green saber's still out there. R2D2 may have it in his fucking head, just like he did
He
in
has
episode
before.
6.
That's
Get it out of your forehead,
that's
R2.
actually a cool theory.
I hope it's right,
But-
I would love to see Luke's green saber again.
Yeah.
I feel oh totally. It should have been in The Last Jedi. I mean, that's, you know, and then let's talk about real quick just how Finn, Rose, and Poe are all wasted. Like not drunk, but like their characters are wasted.
I wish I was wasted watching this movie.
Yeah.
Rose, I feel like, was a forced character to begin with. Her entire everything with her and Finn in The Last Jedi, I feel like, is just fluff.
Yeah. Canto,
Absolutely unnecessary.
Canto Bite is...
Canto Bite.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was so mad at the end of this scene.
It's almost like Canto Bite was put in there so they could have the broom kid at the end and have it make somewhat sense.
Literally, the end of the scene, they're tearing through the town. They climb that hill. They finally stop. The police aren't after them anymore. And Finn goes, it was all worth it. And then she takes the saddle off and she goes, now it was all worth it. And I'm like, everyone you know is dying.
Yeah, and you're
running through this
about this
I'm
mutated horse.
Go back to your friends. This wasn't worth it. They're dying.
Let's also briefly touch on just the ridiculous laws in Canto Bite. Like, this is a casino town. Like, you would think like that laws don't go very far. And I understand that this was done to partner them with the code breaker.
Oh.
They got arrested for fucking illegally parking.
Yeah. Cell
You're
phones,
under arrest for parking violation, blah, blah, blah.
Cell phones, your mom jokes,
gas, and
parking tickets.
That you went to jail for.
Yeah.
that you get thrown out of casinos for.
But that's the thing, like, there was the Maz Kanata
Those are
tie-in.
shuttle parkers.
Oh, let's not talk about that. Why did you have to remind me of
It's
that?
like a bad video game.
Yeah.
But then it's like,
Just unlocked Maz Kanata on Battlefront 2.
the one guy that can finally, like, that can help you with this. I'm not going to show you his face, but he'll probably have this on his jacket.
Yeah.
And then they go there, and the dude's
he is.
there, but they get arrested. And then Stutter Friend is like, but I could do it too, so it's cool.
Yeah.
And then he does. And
You want to touch on how, like, hey, all your friends are dying. There's so many moments of that lack of urgency in this movie, and it first hit me because when this movie opens up, I try to figure out why I hate those early Rey Luke scenes so much. And did I touch on this in the last episode where I just feel like everything just feels wooden for like I might just talk to you personally about it, but
which,
yeah, dude,
damn, you're right.
yeah.
That Kylo Ren line.
Kylo Ren is too strong in the dark side of the Force. We need you to come back.
Dude, I was watching it, I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not the voice and the voice acting. I'm going to give the Rey Luke scenes in the early movie a pass, and the only reason I say that is Rey does not know the situation that the Resistance is currently in. She doesn't know that they're being tracked through hyperspace. She doesn't know that Snoke's ship is destroying the fleet.
Yeah, she left the base to see Luke, and
Correct.
She has no idea.
So she is out of the picture as far as the sense of urgency goes. She just knows that they need Luke back for whatever is coming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great point that I literally have never thought of. So
I'll give that a pass. But Rose,
the ticking
Finn,
clock is very much involved.
Rose and Finn, you guys know how serious it is and how crucial it is that you get back.
Yeah. Also, though, too, it's like, I don't know. Like, what's your plan? Like, you ask Luke one time, he ignores you, blows you off.
And then Chewie kicks the door in.
Chewie! And then, like, where's Han? And they cut away. And I don't know if you've seen the deleted scenes for The Last Jedi, but there's this incredibly tender moment with Mark Hamill where he kind of remembers and, like, kind of reminisces about Han and just kind of takes his death in, just kind of, like, mentally,
That should have been in the movie.
And it's a very touching moment, and it was cut.
You put everything else in there.
Yeah, I just... And with the thing with giving Rey a pass because she's not necessarily aware of what's happening back, sure, but I'll play devil's advocate and be like, yo, listen, you kind of have to assume that you're in a rebel base that's going to be hunted by the First Order. Kylo Ren is still out there. Like, you're still very much in this fight. I'm assuming that Resistance pilots are still going out on missions, risking their lives, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll play devil's advocate and say that, like, hey, maybe not just following him around was the best way to get him to go on your side.
Watch him milk some animal. The dumbest.
Directly drink the milk right after squeezing it out, which is fucking weird.
And the fishing scene doesn't make sense to me because it's a long pole that he rides across, and then he stabs the fish, and then I assume he just rides that pole back, and then I'm like,
force jumps up, straight up.
I don't know, man.
And and then we get the right in that after that scene, she hears the tree. The tree like whispers to her, and she goes back to, and that's the room with and that is the first Rey Luke scene that I actually enjoy
in the
early on, because there's some decent dialogue, and even the where are you from? And she's like, Jakku, and he's like, oh, there really is nowhere. That kind of works for me because it's it's such deadpan Mark Hamill in that moment.
He's just kind of a goofy guy.
Yeah, and it kind of worked. But even there, if he would have delivered that line any worse, there you go with having another attempt at undercutting a serious dramatic moment with comedy.
I watched it and I was like, why is that stupid joke in there? Like, this is moment.
Yeah, this is a moment, like, he's finally acknowledging her presence. He's not just blowing her off, which not everyone, a lot of people have an issue with how they treated Luke in that way of him being a hermit and being cut off from the Force. I think that's cool. I like that spin. Again, it's just
did something very similar on Dagobah.
Yeah, but we don't have to learn about him through him milking dinosaur tits and jumping across lakes to fish. Like, we can learn about that. And then the one other decently compelling scene we do get, where we get the prequel reference, where he's like, Darth Sidious rose to the top of his, like, infiltrated the Jedi or whatever he says, and that's cool.
Jedi were at the height of their power.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and he's right. Darth Sidious rose to the power he did right under the Jedi's nose.
Oh, yeah.
But then if you look at the scene where Rey, the first training scene where he actually takes Rey up right after the first Force time moment, and he takes Rey up to train. Mm-hmm. She sits on the rock and she reaches out, and what are you going to do? You're going to force the questionably the worst joke in the whole film in there with
tickling her hand
with a fucking leaf, and she's like stupid enough to think it's the Force. Is she a moron?
But it's like
what? Someone who has already used the Force on multiple occasions.
Like, who thought that was funny? Like, that's all that is just. That gets me viscerally angry, because I'm like, we're about to have this cool moment. We're about to see Luke actually maybe train Rey, and then you feel, that's the Force. And then that's a perfect example too of like, cool moment. Oh, never mind.
It turns into
Last Jedi in a nutshell.
That's like I was saying, this movie has its weirdness, which could have been very cool. Because when they finally are, like, he's explaining the Force, what do you see? And they're talking about, like, I see life, I see death. And it's like such a cool representation of like, and it's kind of like, it's shot kind of weird and
It's
like
different, yeah.
And that's like, different can be cool.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Nature documentary in that moment.
And then, but some of that looks real. Like a lot of people say this is the most beautiful Star Wars movie.
It's drab.
I think it's shot kind of weird. I've noticed all of the, not to get like technical about it, but like any close up, the depth of field, it's like too strong, or it's like, it's very clearly your character is super in focus and everything else is so out of focus.
I'm convinced that there's one shot where Luke's on the ground and it's just straight up out of focus. You know what I'm talking about?
There's an out of focus shot in The Force Awakens for sure. The Han and Leia hug, everything.
Yep.
So blurry and like I don't
They're
know.
like they just clearly tried to sharpen that or something.
Yeah,
But I think that I think it's like one right before Luke says this is not going to go the way you think or something. There's one shot where it's just like I'm just like only like I'm just like wait is that and that's whatever, that's just a technical issue. It happens on
but it was like almost distracting. I was like how off. I was like, why does this whole movie seem just off? And there's some really cool, I'm pretty sure IMAX was used in like a lot of like the first shot of Kylo, like his helmet just when is very clearly like this looks different. And a lot of, again, the Force stuff when Rey is like has her hand down on the rocks.
Yep.
It's like something, but it's like a lot of it was jarring. I don't know, it was weird.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, because sometimes it looks like a Star Wars movie and then sometimes it looks like an indie like nature documentary.
Like go back to that Force scene, and when it's Luke reacting to Rey, it's that side shot of Rey and Luke's behind her. It looks like he's almost like I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah. What do you guys remember your first reaction in the theater in the Crystal Cave where she goes up to the mirror and it's just her?
I thought it was dope.
I thought it was cool.
I thought it was a cool scene.
Yeah, no. I mean, like when it was just her in the reflection, did you feel bummed? Were you like, ooh?
I was kind of just in that moment. I was like, I was almost sad because like you could tell she was let down, and I remember
The character.
The character of Rey was like, damn. Like I thought that was the moment, and I felt that.
She wanted to see her parents.
And the thing that throws me off in that scene, the more I see it, it's a cool scene visually, and like 1,000 of her being in a line and how everything syncs up like visually and like audibly.
Again, the weirdness of this movie can be cool.
Yeah. The thing that freaks me out about halfway through that scene is narration. She starts to narrate it.
Yeah.
Because she's technically talking to Kylo.
But you don't realize
But we don't see that until the end, and I was like, oh man, we're getting like Martin Scorsese narration all of a sudden, and I like it, but it's I notice it now because we've never seen that in Star Wars, I don't think, until that moment. But yeah, I was bummed, I thought that's the thing is with this movie too, you have to take into consideration the context of the moment when it came out. Mm-hmm. It was 2 years of anticipation and 2 years of, God, who are Rey's parents? Who is Snoke? What's going to happen here? What are Luke's first words going to be?
Doesn't matter.
All these things. It was all built up and all built up and all built up. And then it all just feels like subversion for subversion's sake.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a purpose. It literally feels like he was like, nah.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
He's like, I just want to make a movie that no one's expecting, as opposed to making a movie that's right for the story or right for the characters. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I just,
JJ's going to come in and save the day in 5 days.
Yeah, and there's already things in this movie that, he'll say it to the ends of the earth, but I think he does not like this movie. And he was quoted recently.
JJ doesn't like The Last
Jedi. Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah. And I think he was quoted recently, and he got hell for this, but he was quoted recently saying, like, I don't think people want to go to a Star Wars movie, and I'm paraphrasing, I don't think people want to go to a Star Wars movie to just be told that everything that it came before doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's right.
He's right. And then everyone was like, The Last Jedi mattered.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, you can tell which side we're all on.
Glowing review.
10
out of 10.
But it is an incredibly frustrating movie because everything,
you get glimpses of
greatness.
Yeah.
And ultimately it's all thrown away with the million nagging problems and nagging issues that face it.
Yeah, I was actively upset last night. And because I watched it once in the theater when it came out, and then we kind of
tore it apart one time.
Watched it just like for fun, whatever. And I've gone to the throne scene multiple times. Just it's a very cool scene.
Yeah, that fight scene. People like to nitpick the stunt work and some of the choreography, and that the second knife was CG'd out.
Understandably so. And that's this movie to me. It's like, well, it was kind of cool, and we messed up, so that knife shouldn't be there. So just make that knife go away, and everything's fine now.
And once you see, do you know what I'm talking about?
I'll have to watch.
Okay. Well, again. I hope you never see it, because once you do see it, you'll never unsee it. You're like, ooh, that looks bro. He should have been able to just stab her in the back. Yeah, that's this movie, man. This movie is just, for every great moment, there's 6 bad ones, or 6 moments that take you out of the film. At least for me, at least for seemingly everybody here.
Like Marissa was bored. She was like,
yeah,
there's just not a lot going on.
It's too long, man.
There's a lot of just kind of
like I said, a lot of fluff. A lot of Rose and Flynn fluff.
Yeah. Oh, and Poe, Admiral Holdo.
Yeah.
Just tell him your fucking plan. Just tell him your plan.
She didn't have...
And then Leia goes, she was more... I'm not going to do a Leia impression. That was terrible. I can't. She has very unique... She had a very unique voice. But
Marissa was like, she just seems old and
tired. Some of those takes, because she seemed like, even in Force Awakens, she seemed kind of lively. And in Last Jedi, she was like, this is the 65th take, Ryan. Can I please sit down? But yeah... Leia says on the transport after Poe, couldn't fucking think of his name because they're all interchangeable in this movie. Leia's like, she was more interested in protecting the light than looking like a hero or something. And I'm like, that's what? Just fucking be a leader and
just be honest with it. It's like, hey, this is where we're going. This is what we're doing.
Basic communication.
It's gonna look like we're not doing anything, but this is the plan.
Yeah, basic communication. And Leia, I'm sorry, but I love Carrie Fisher. I'm sure she's going to be great in 9. I'm sure it'll work, but Leia should have been the one to pull that maneuver.
Yes.
Anyone. And speaking of sacrifice, Finn.
Interchangeable.
For sure should have
died.
Yeah.
Yes.
The musical built,
it's
such a good build up. And then Rose just sideswipes him.
And that's this whole movie.
That's the movie again.
It's like
the knife disappeared.
Yeah, there's no emotional payoff.
Yeah.
It's all just That's this movie, and that's why I'll never forget the feeling when I was so looking forward to this movie when it came out that I fucking just straight up lied to myself and lied to the people that I talked to because I was trying to fool myself into liking it. But I knew from the moment I got up out of my chair the first time I saw it, I felt just this wave of disappointment. I felt just this wave of utter disappointment because, there's some cool action, but goddamn, a lightsaber doesn't even touch another lightsaber in this movie. Mm. Not that that's a prerequisite for Star Wars, but it fucking helps. And I just, just no emotional payoffs. It's all just edging. That's all this movie is. It's terrible.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it's just all the moments of greatness. None of it matters when you're just going to undercut yourself and try and force in tonally inconsistent moments and bad humor and B plots that are just poorly written. And it was obviously a thing of Ryan was like, all right, I get to direct The Last Jedi. Let's see what Rey and Kylo are going to do. Oh, fuck, I've got these other characters too. It was clearly he just...
And it sucks because I like I said, I watched The Force Awakens, went right into The Last Jedi, and I was like, I'm with these characters, what an adventure that was. We all had a grand old time, and I'm excited to see what happens. And then it's just
matters.
2.5 hours of just...
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. Can't wait.
Not a Star Wars podcast, though.
Not a Star Wars podcast. Oh man, what do you guys think of The Last Jedi? I'm sure there's someone out there that still likes it. Actually, according to Twitter, there's quite a few people.
Trending.
It's trending.
Someone somewhere.
Yeah. No, I just, I think we're also critical on it because we see how good it could have been and how close to good it was being in our humble opinions. And again, so many good ideas in this movie too, in terms of expanding what we know of the Force and how it works. And then it's just undercut the whole time. I don't know. It's like he was trying to troll everybody, but then also just like trolling himself too. It's like he was just stopping himself from making a decent Star Wars movie. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's why The Last Jedi is so divisive.
Right.
Because
That's what the topic
that's
was.
what the topic was. Not why we hate it, but why it's divisive.
We had some good points in there.
But that's
why it
true.
was
I mean,
good.
it's divisive because there's the group of people who just watch it just to watch it because it's Star Wars, and they don't pay attention to a lot of that. And then there's the hardcore, more hardcore base that grew up with Star Wars and appreciated The Force Awakens for what it was and was expecting all these payoffs and didn't get any.
Payoffs are, you don't have to give us answers, but like move it forward.
Yeah.
Don't just shut it down.
Yeah.
Rian Johnson is like the shitty writing teacher that you have in 12th grade, and he's like, have this really cool idea for it. No. Can I do my paper on? No. That's just but I'm confident that The Rise of Skywalker will at least
JJ's back.
JJ's back.
That makes me happy.
And going back even real quick to touch on one technical thing before we wrap up, like how you were talking about how like Last Jedi looks weird and to you, and like I don't know, I love the way JJ's films look. They're popping with color and they're very saturated, but he's toned down the lens.
Not Michael Bay saturated.
Not Michael Bay saturated, but they're saturated enough. There's that clip in some of the teasers where Lando turns around, and I'm just like, man, that cape's yellow.
Yeah,
like I'm just like,
there's color in this film.
Yeah, but it's I like the way he handles his films from a visual standpoint.
I'm glad I'm still excited for The Rise of Skywalker.
Imagine that. Because that's the thing too, is like, I remember when the first trailer came out for it, I was like, fucking cares. Like I was so pissed. Yeah. And then they managed to get me this excited again.
Just watched 7, just watched 8, and I'm still like, let's go.
Because there's a chance, man, and I have a good feeling about it, but you'll see.
Better than having a bad feeling about this.
That's right. You'll see in our reaction/review video we do for The Rise of Skywalker, hopefully uploaded Thursday or Friday night.
Hopefully.
December 19th or 20th, around there. Thanks, everybody. If you made it to the end of the video, that really does mean a lot. This has been the second episode of Notes for Next Time. I'm Mason.
I'm Mike.
I'm Taylor.
Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.